Whenever you seed a new lawn from scratch, or even if you're overseeding an existing area, you're going to start to see some really good results. However, you'll also probably see some bald spots like this and this. In this video we're going to talk about the causes of why the bald spots happen in the first place and what you can do to fix them. For regular viewers of the channel, you'll already know that this video is part of our 4-week lawn care renovation challenge, and in the picture you can see an update from the last video where we did our first mow on a newly seeded lawn. In this video we're going to be tackling some of the areas that didn't respond that well to the overseeding process, like you can see in the bottom right. We're going to take a look at the common causes of why seed may not germinate in the lawn, and finally I'm going to take you through the step-by-step process of how to repair these patches and get a thicker, greener lawn. If you haven't seen the previous parts of the 4-week renovation challenge, I'm going to link a card to the playlist above, and feel free to check that out, and also make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn the notifications on to take your DIY lawn care to the next level. One of the first causes that may be contributing to why your seed hasn't germinated in the lawn is birds. Birds are a really common cause of loss of seed after the overseeding process, and as such will contribute to some of the bare patches that you see later down the line. There's a couple of things you can do to deter birds from taking seeds from the lawn, and one of those things is actually covering the seeds with a layer of the top dressing or compost after you've laid them down. Putting this layer of top dressing or compost over the top of your seeds will drastically reduce the bird take that you see, almost acting like a little barrier. There are some other methods you can use, such as putting a physical barrier like netting or a germination sheet in between the seeds and the birds, which will also be effective. The next cause of lack of germination is overwatering. In my case, I think this is what contributed to a lot of the gaps that I can see. There was a real week or 2 weeks of heavy rain, and this can do two things. One, it can actually wash the seed away from the soil, and secondly, too much water will stunt the germination ratios of the seeds. The third thing is underwatering. It's really important that the seeds are kept moist throughout the germination period. This could mean watering or applying water a couple of times a day until you start to see the seeds establish themselves. It's really important to keep them moist because the seeds are quite sensitive at this point and they need that level of moisture to trigger the germination process. The next factor that can influence things is the amount of foot traffic that your lawn sees. Whilst in principle it's probably okay to have very light foot traffic over a seeded area, keep any heavier activities to a minimum to increase the chances of germination. The last factor that I want to touch on is over-fertilisation. It's really easy to get enthusiastic about seeding and developing a new lawn, but actually the new lawn seed doesn't need a high concentrate fertiliser during its early stages. Stick to the right pre-seed type of fertiliser. I've linked the product that I personally use in the description below, so take a look at that if you're interested, and also make sure not to over apply the fertiliser during the initial stages. Taking a look around the lawn, we can see some patches around the edge that need overseeding, I'm just going to run these patches by hand for now, which should be fine. And there was also a little bit around the grid in the middle of the lawn, and I think what was happening here is as the impact sprinkler was hitting the grid, it was kind of washing the seeds off the hard surface and just pushing them away in some of the corners. During the process, I actually thought I saw a leather jacket in my new seed, but after further inspection, it was only a slug. Okay. I'd saved a bit of top dressing mix from our top dressing video, which I've linked in the card above, because from my experience, there's always some little spots I need to touch up, and I thought it'd be handy to have some left over. Depending on how accurate you want to be with reapplying your seed, you can either use a spreader setting, you can use a manual type spreader, or you can just spread by hand. In this case, I chose to overseed most of my areas just by spreading by hand. It's quite a small area, and this was feasible for me given the size of my area. If you were overseeding a bigger patch or maybe needed to overseed a complete lawn, I'd recommend checking out a spreader. The one that I use is a Scott spreader, which I've linked in the description below. But when you're covering a bigger area, it's much more easier to put the seeds down more evenly and control the under or application of a product. As for the top dressing, I'm just giving it a light sprinkle. You can also use compost, or I've seen people using peat moss for this. The reason for that is it just helps to keep the germination in and keeps the seeds moist during the process. But I'd specifically save some of this top dressing mixture ready for this process. The top dressing mixture that ideally you want the mixture to be dry so it doesn't clump together, and I'm just spreading it out using a fanning motion with my hands. And the reason I'm doing this is to keep it covered away from the birds and just give it an extra almost blanket during the germination process. Just going to have to stop the video here for a quick ice cream, and I'll be back with you guys in just a minute. One of the things I forgot to mention was after applying the seeds by hand, I just lightly brushed them into the grass. You can use a brush for this or use the back of a rake just to drag it across the surface. After applying the top dressing, I chose to roll the seeds in using this roller. I've actually linked one of these in the description below, but I understand a lot of people won't have one of these, so you can just lightly firm the seeds into the soil using your feet or your hands. The objective here isn't really to crush or compact the seeds into the soil, and this roller that I'm using has all the water drained out of it, so it's much more lighter than it would be if it was full. The purpose here is just to firm the soil down a little bit and create that good seed to soil contact. The other thing about having one of these is you can actually get some pretty cool stripes. I mean, look at those stripes. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel to take your DIY lawn care to the next level. If you found any of my content useful and you'd like to support the channel, I do get a small amount of commission if you buy any products from Amazon using my links in the description below, and I've also had my Amazon wish list in case you want to help me out with some small garden bits to help me support the stream. In the meantime, check out some of my other videos that you might find useful, and as the lawn care pros say, I'll see you in the lawn.